welcome to the 2021 Black History Month event. My name is Erica Newman, and I am the chair of the Legislative Branch African American Affinity Group. I want to start off by thanking Councilmember Gurmai Zahalai for his commitment to public service and for using his platform to build and support communities that have long been overlooked. When our group met in January 2020, it was Councilmember Zahalai that offered to support the group. And when we planned this event, he was proud to be the sponsor. I also want to thank our whole group, KCTV, Vazaskia Crockwell, and Rini Nair from the Council's Equity and Social Justice Office for helping to make our first virtual Black History Month event a reality. While we know our whole story can't be told in just 1 month, it is important that we use Black History Month to reflect and honor the impactful contributions made by our African American ancestors. I also want to honor the lives of our newest ancestors, Representative Elijah Cummings, Reverend Joseph Laurie, Reverend C.T. Vivian, Representative John Lewis, and the one and only Cicely Tyson. We have a great event planned for today with Dr. Delbert Richardson as our keynote speaker, and my hope is that you will listen in and be able to take away valuable information that will help you to better understand the history and contributions of African Americans. And remember, we are the only county bearing the namesake of the late and great Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
Hello, my name is Chandler Gayton, and I'm a member of the Legislative Branch's Black African American Affinity Group. It is now my honor to read our mission statement. The Black African American Affinity Group consists of individuals who are diverse in age, gender, sexual orientation, disability, and job classification. All members self-identify and relate to the cultural dynamics of African Americans around the globe. The purpose of this group is to build trust, fellowship amongst each other, shared experiences, and coordinate events to educate others about the inequities and injustices that Black people encounter every day on every platform, as well as the pervasive race-inflicted structures and histories that underlie those inequities. Our hope is that others will learn something new about Black people and become an ally by acknowledging our daily struggles, being accountable for any contribution that further perpetuates racism against Black people, and consider becoming a catalyst for change by investing in learning opportunities and doing more to help Black and African American people. We welcome the opportunity to collaborate with other groups to advance racial and social justice. If you're not careful, the newspapers will have you hating the people who are being oppressed and loving the people who are doing the oppressing. Malik El-Shabazz, also known as Brother Minister Malcolm X. We also want to acknowledge the history and experiences of Black, African American, Hispanic, Latinx, Asian, and Pacific Islander Americans. They have experienced historical trauma from racism and discrimination and have helped to build this country, yet still struggle to obtain the American dream of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness.
Hey everyone, this is King County Council Member Gurmai Zahalai. I'm a proud member of the Council's African American Affinity Group, and it gives me great honor to sponsor this year's Black History Month proclamation, which is signed by all King County Council members. Whereas in 1926, famed activist, writer, and preeminent historian Carter G. Woodson influenced the American Historical Society to designate the second week of February as Negro History Week. And whereas President of the National Historical Society, Carter G. Woodson, chose that month because the birthdays of two individuals who were very influential in the lives of African Americans fell in the month of February. The first was President Abraham Lincoln, and the second was former enslaved person and abolitionist Frederick Douglass. And whereas Negro History Week officially became Black History Month during the nation's bicentennial in 1976. And whereas Black History Month, which is celebrated in the United States and in Canada, is a time to remember the many people, events, and contributions of African Americans historically and currently, not only in the United States, but throughout the world. And whereas the contributions to science, business, technology, government, law, arts, entertainment, and culture by African Americans in the United States have been meaningful and beneficial to the development of our nation and other nations throughout the world. And there truly is no American history without Black history. And whereas Black History Month has special significance to King County, which was redesignated in the honor of our country's foremost civil rights leader, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. in 1986, with the county logo now bearing his name. Whereas the observance of Black History Month calls our nation's attention to the continued need to battle racism and to build a society that lives up to its democratic ideals. Now, therefore, we, the Metropolitan King County Council, proclaim the month of February 2021 as Black History Month in King County, and ask all residents to join us in commemorating the countless contributions of African Americans to our nation and the world, not only during this month, but at every opportunity through the year. And now, it's my great pleasure to introduce Mr. Delbert Richardson. Mr. Richardson is a second-generation storyteller at the Unspoken Truths. The Unspoken Truths is a traveling museum chronicling the rich history of Africans in Africa prior to racial slavery, the experiences and impacts of racial slavery and Jim Crow era, and the contributions that African Americans have had on scientific, cultural, and technological innovations in the United States. Please join me in welcoming our keynote speaker, Delbert Richardson.
Hello, Seattle family and friends. My name is Delbert Richardson, and I am honored to be your 2021 Black History Month celebration keynote speaker. I'd like to acknowledge the following individuals: Councilman Gurmai Zahalai for sponsoring this year's event and being a champion for racial equity and for elevating community voices. Ms. Erica Newman and the King County Council's African American Affinity Group for their leadership and advocacy for Black community. And last but not least, Ms. Vazaskia Crockwell, the Council's Director for Equity and Social Justice. Some of you may not know me. I am the owner, curator, and community scholar of the national award-winning Unspoken Truths American History Travel Museum. I teach American history through an Afrocentric lens. The primary focus of my work is identity development and self-actualization for Black boys. I don't consider myself a historian, but I am a my-storian, an our-storian, an I-storian. I've been called to tell the rich histories of African and African-American people of the diaspora. So I had to ask myself, why is it if I call myself African-American, I never learn anything positive about the African part of my name? Africa, not just as a continent, but as a body of knowledge, was responsible for transforming the world. Most of us assume that the two cities, Athens and Rome, dominated the classical world and set Western culture on its present course, but there was a third city that at its highest dwarfed both of these in scientific and artistic achievement: Alexandria of Egypt. Hippocrates, Plato, Aristotle, and Pythagoras, all of them studied for decades in ancient Egypt. While Athens and Rome spread their influence through trade and war, Alexandria sought to conquer the mind. I'm gonna say that again. Africans sought to conquer the mind. So I'm always asking myself this question: what would it be like if Black males and Black females in kindergarten to 12th grade understood that their ancient ancestors were obsessed with learning? I thought it was so important in regards to teaching children and young adults the foundation of knowledge as it relates to the brilliance, I'll say Black brilliance, of the mighty African. So I'm gonna show you a couple of artifacts. This is a very rare Nigerian bust. What I want you to pay attention to is two things: that it's beautiful But probably the most important thing is that it represents metallurgy. So we were actually mining ore thousands of years ago before the invasion of the European. So this is a skill set. Metallurgy. This is terracotta. Beautiful. See the inside? Terracotta is what we know as the type of material that's used to pot plants. Not only is this beautiful, but it represents masonry. This is a drum. Isn't it beautiful? But this represents carpentry. So here are three skill sets that's not talked about that were extremely prevalent on the continent: metallurgy, terracotta, and carpentry. And by the way, these were specific skill sets that my ancestors were stolen for to help build the Americas. And we'll talk about that during another time period. I want to emphasize the importance of the connection to ancient Africa and the brilliance of the mighty African as it relates to the African American. And now, let's talk about Sinkofa. The term Sinkofa represents a mythical bird from the Akan tribe in Ghana, West Africa. The term means go back to fetch or go back to get. It depicts a bird with its head turned backwards, taking an egg from its mouth. It expressed the importance of reaching back to acknowledge and wisdom gained from the past and bring it into the present in order to make positive changes. I have a question. When you hear the term Black history, what comes to mind? The late James Baldwin said, and I quote, "History is not the past, it is the present. We carry our history with us. We are our history." As we stand today, gathered honoring those amazing ancestors that have come before us, I'm very proud to stand on their shoulders. In Dr. Gholdy Muhammad's amazing book, Cultivating Genius, an Equity Framework for Culturally Responsive and Historically Responsive Literacy, she says, and I quote, "History from Black communities tells that educators don't need to empower youth or give them brilliance or genius. Instead, the power and genius is already within them. Genius is the brilliance, intellect, ability, cleverness, and artistry that has been flowing through their minds and brains and spirits across generations. This cultivation calls for reaching back into students' histories, Sinkofa, and deeply knowing them and their ancestors to teach ways that makes them grow and develops their existing genius. The cultivation of this genius within all of us has been called throughout history." End of quote. That being said, let's reflect and honor one of the history keepers of the 19th centuries, who I call the father of Black History Month, Dr. Carter G. Woodson. In February 1926, 95 years ago, he initiated the celebration of Negro History Week, which has to coincide with the birthdays of both Frederick Douglass and Abraham Lincoln. In 1976, this celebration was expanded to Black History Month. Dr. Woodson knew and felt that the dominant culture, white Americans, had no interest in the role Black people had in American history and that it was intentionally overlooked. He was committed to dispelling the myth that Black people had no history, and in order for Black people to be seen and valued, they had to accept responsibility. Let us honor the many Black men and women of our past that made many sacrifices for us all. Black history is extremely important to me. Part of my story is that I was born a Negro. Yes, I was born in 1954. If you understand about American history, 1954 is the year of the famous case Brown v. Board of Education. So I didn't have an opportunity to learn about who I was. Going to University of Washington was pivotal because I didn't know until I went to University of Washington in 1973 that I could choose how I wanted to identify. There were Black students from all over the United States talking about Black power. And when I was raised, the term Black was really a negative term. I started to embrace the importance of identifying for myself as opposed to how others identified me. So as a result, I'm now so proud to understand that Black history not only has significance outside, but inside me as well. On this day in 2021, as we currently battle 3 pandemics simultaneously, COVID, racism, and insurrection, let us all lock our arms in a battle to eradicate the insidious disease of racial white supremacy and collectively work towards a society that work is centered in racial healing and reconciliation. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Tillery Williams, and I am a member of the legislative branch's Black African American Affinity Group. I want to take a moment to provide a reflection on Black History Month in today's presentation. When we think about the contributions of African Americans in this country, I'd like to say there would be no United States of America as we know today without those contributions of African Americans. Most of the time when we think of contributions, we think of the biggest people who kind of set and paved the way on a grand national scale. Usually we think of Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and Medgar Evers. But sometimes the biggest contributors are right in front of our face. For instance, my grandfather, Roy Williams, let me know that as an impoverished kid, education was my way out of the ghetto. You think about contributions from folks like retired council member Larry Gossett, who started usually by himself being a voice and a name for all Black folks in this Seattle area. And then there's council member Girmay Zahalai, who, as I can recall, is one of the youngest members ever elected to the King County Council. So again, we don't have to look too far to find those biggest contributors. You look at the different communities and the volunteers and the folks that go around and they try to be a voice for folks right here in this community, and you see Black history playing itself out every day. One thing that we have to remember is, most of the time as an African American, and especially an African American male, we're usually looked at as athletically gifted, but intelligently inferior. Well, I'm here today to tell you that if you look at the history and the contributions of African Americans in this country, that history paints a very different picture. So, in closing, what I would encourage you all to do is to pick up a book, go and Google Black history, and you will find that many of the things that we take for granted that we use on a daily basis came from the hands, the blood, sweat, and tears of African Americans in this country. Thank you for taking the time to listen to our message, and we hope to see you again really soon.
My name is Vizaskia Crockrell. I'm the Director of Equity and Social Justice for the King County Council. I hope you've enjoyed our Black History Month event. More importantly, I hope you have learned some new information. I also want to take a moment to extend a very special thank you to our event sponsor, Councilmember Girmay Zahalai, representing District 2, who is also a member of the Council's Black African Affinity Group. Councilmember Zahalai is making a difference in our communities and on the council, elevating the voices and needs of communities of color and our most vulnerable population. I am so honored to work alongside Councilmember Zahalai. I would also like to recognize our planning committee, specifically Erica Newman, who's the chair of our council's Black African American Affinity Group, also Chandler Gayton, Tillery Williams, Rainey Nair, Rhonda Lewis, and Shanice Wilson. Without their vision for today's event and their dedication and coordination, this event would not have happened. And a special thank you to our KCTV production team. Now, on behalf of our King County Council, I want to thank you for joining us to celebrate Black History Month. I will close out the event with one quote and one reminder. The quote comes from Vernon Jordan. "You are where you are today because you stand on somebody's shoulders. And wherever you are heading, you cannot get there by yourself. If you stand on the shoulders of others, you have a reciprocal responsibility to live your life so that others may stand on your shoulders. It's the quid pro quo of life. We exist temporarily through what we take, but we live forever through what we give." And with that said, we must never forget that Black history is American history, and that the achievements of African Americans have and continue to contribute to the greatness of our nation. Thank you, and God bless.